Michel Barnier was the frontman for a French plot to force Britain out of the EU, clearing the way for a United States of Europe after Brexit, a former MEP has claimed. And Hans-Olaf Henkel said all sides should have realized the problems which would arise further down the track before signing the withdrawal agreement thrashed out late last year. With EU negotiator Mr Barnier and UK opposite number Lord David Frost trading blows on Twitter over the weekend, the prospects of a post-Brexit trade deal are currently looking bleak. There have even been suggestions Mr Barnier could be sidelined in favour of direct bilateral negotiations between the UK and individual member states including France and Germany. Mr Henkel, who stepped down from the Assembly last year, told Express.co.uk, "I am convinced that French and other forces in Brussels actually wanted Britain to leave as it was always Britain which stood in the way of more Brussels and more government and the United States of Europe and that Barnier, despite his public statements, would see Britain rather leave than stay." It is no accident that ex-President Jean-Claude Juncker picked a French bureaucrat for this job. That means he is highly intelligent, well-educated and has perfect manners. Mr Barnier's erudite approach had paid off in the early stages over the so-called sequencing issue, which split the negotiation into three sections, Mr Henkel said. He explained, in the beginning of the negotiations on Brexit he outsmarted the British government, Theresa May, by insisting that before they start discussing a trade agreement, the EU should have an agreement on the critical issue of the border between Northern Ireland and Ireland plus a British commitment on the price of the exit. Because of May's decision to call for snap elections during that time, her government did not focus on the importance of the sequence of these three items to be negotiated. Too late, after the election, Britain discovered that an agreement on the border issue would depend on the type of the agreement on trade. Nowhere in the world can you find a border rule without knowing what kind of a customs agreement it needs to regulate. As a result, there was a delay of almost a year, caused an enormous amount of pressure as time began to run out. Mr Henkel, who is also a former president of the BDI, Germany's industrial lobby, said, "UK Tory colleagues of mine in the ECR political group agreed with me at that time that Number 10 should never have agreed to Barnier's timetable and explained it with the attention to the UK election by Theresa May's team." Barnier also managed to let Britain make a commitment on the amount to be paid for the exit bill before the agreement on trade.